Monday. Hey friends, we are back and giggling and making fun of each other and trying to figure out why now we're on a laptop and we're on the other side.
Yep.
So if anyone can explain that to us, it's not in my brain power to comprehend it right now. We had great feedback on our workshop last week talking all about gut health. And guys, we barely scratched the surface. So there will be little nuggets of gut health through each of these because it's such a big topic and everything we're talking about is just really intertwined and really influential on our health and our longevity and our inflammation and all the things. And the reason we picked these three topics is because these are the big three root issues. There is not a single health concern that could not be avoided or delayed if these three things were improved. So that's why we felt like they were so important. Today's topic is blood sugar, what you need to know about it, what we know about insulin, which is the master hormone of this blood sugar roller coaster, and I'm going to paint that picture for you in just a moment here, and what we can do about it in the world of foods and supplements to keep your blood sugars where they should be. So picture this with me, a big roller coaster. We are all on a roller coaster every day. We eat a meal, our blood sugar goes up, and then it crosses the top, and then it starts to go down again. It's normal for our blood sugars to fluctuate as we eat our meals throughout the day. Here's the issue though. We are going too high and we are crashing too low, and we are doing that over and over and over again. Why are we doing that? We're doing that because our food is processed, our food is refined, our soil and where our food gets its nutrition from is depleted, and we also live stressful lives and sedentary lives. All this contributes to too high of highs and too low of lows. Now, you may have heard this explained in the world of diabetes or hypoglycemia or PCOS. Those are just the worst cases. We all are going up and down throughout the day. When those blood sugars are high, that's when we store fat. And most of us want less of that on our body. When that's high, that also drives the inflammation cycle, which contributes to aging. I didn't mean to point at you.
Yes, she did.
Aging. I'm pointing at you because she's going to talk about that as we go along here. Those high blood sugars also just make the blood pressure worse and the triglycerides worse and the cholesterol worse, because sugar in your bloodstream is like nails on a chalkboard, like scratching the inside of your arteries, and then cholesterol comes along as a Band-Aid. So I won't go on a rant about how cholesterol isn't an egg problem, but I could. So those are the highs. The lows, how many of you have felt a low blood sugar episode? You maybe didn't know what it was, but you may have had a day where you felt really crummy, or you felt really grumpy, or you got in an argument with your spouse and then you ate some dinner and you're like, that was silly. My blood sugars were low. Yep. That's a low blood sugar. When it's worse, you can't think, you can't process, and in fact, you can pass out. That's a low blood sugar. So that's the problem. And that is contributing to hormone imbalances because insulin is a master hormone. Insulin controls all the roller coasters. And when it's so busy and so overwhelmed and you need way more of it, then it starts to slack on its other jobs. And it starts to impact the rest of the hormones because it's in control of all the things. So we'll touch on that more as we continue through this workshop. But that's the picture that we're dealing with. And that's why blood sugar is a big issue.
Yeah, wasn't that good? And not only that, you know, we are in a crisis right now, basically a health crisis, where 1 in 3 people in America have some level of insulin resistance. And basically what insulin resistance is that we have cells in our body that insulin has a key to open and close. And these cells convert hormones, they are intaking water, they are storing fat or glucose for energy or reserves or whatever that might be. And the more that insulin is floating around in our bloodstream, the more that these cells stop listening to insulin. And so what we kind of have a game of in our body is ding dong ditch. Right? The insulin's going around dinging and donging on people's doorbells, and the cells are not opening the doors anymore. They're not listening. And so this is why we see issues with like high blood sugars, low blood sugars, hormone issues, like every hormone conversion is tied to insulin. You know, cortisol, stress, all of that is tied to insulin. So aging, how can that affect us with blood sugars? Well, one of the primary reasons, or insulin requires an essential mineral called chromium. And chromium is, it's found in our soil. We are made of dirt. Okay, like we were made of dirt. And so our bodies require so many things that come from the earth. And that would be like chromium and other minerals like magnesium and calcium and all of those things. And we are so deficient in them because of what Jamie said earlier, with our soils are depleted of it. Our foods are depleted of it. And we have stressors like chemicals, medications, blood or birth control, all those things can actually deplete chromium stores in our body, which does not help insulin anymore. So chromium can help actually protect DNA from damage. So think about this. This is why doctors ask you if your family history has diabetes in it, because it can actually it can prevent damage from DNA. It also means that we can halt cell mutations. And in addition, chromium is associated to longevity of life. People that live longer have sufficient stores of chromium in their body. So again, insulin resistance. It is also really has a high factor in cardiovascular health and metabolizing fats, proteins, carbs, and other proteins or nutrients, excuse me. So anyway, how do we get chromium? Well, we're going to talk about that as far as food and health and what we can do to improve that.
Well, and that ties back to gut health last week, because even if you're eating all the things in perfect amounts, but your gut is covered in yeast and covered in the harmful bacteria and doesn't have the right mix of good things to actually make the hormones and actually get those nutrients into your body, then you're not actually getting 100% out of what you eat if your gut isn't able to absorb it. So it's not what you eat, it's what you absorb.
Yep.
But we talked about that last week. So what are we going to do about this? Chromium is just one of those essential trace nutrients, one of many that are influential on that. So here's some things we can do to help move blood sugars into a more level playing field. So we don't like the highs and we don't like the lows. And what drives this roller coaster, what keeps it going, is carbohydrates. Now, I went on a rant last week about carbohydrates and how we can't eliminate them completely. Yes, we should be eliminating or at least decreasing our intake of sugar, of refined white grains, of things that have been stripped of everything good, like fiber and minerals and all the good things. So choosing those carbohydrates in their whole form. For example, if you drink a glass of apple juice, your blood sugar is going to go high and then it's going to drop. Very similar as if you were to have a regular soda full of sugar. It's going to go high, it's going to go low. Now let's say you had that apple, but you ate the whole apple and you had to chew it and your stomach had to break it down. Now the blood sugar is not going to go as high and it's not going to go as low and it's going to last you longer. That's a good thing. Now let's say that apple was part of a meal that had maybe some healthy fats or some good proteins, some other nutrients in food that are helpful. It's not going to go as high, your blood sugar that is, and it's not going to go as low. That's awesome and that's helpful, and that's just one sneak peek at how our food impacts our blood sugar levels. Another thing that impacts our blood sugar levels is if we're active, if we're moving our muscles. So like Wendy was saying, our muscles and our cells become resistant to insulin. It's like I was like, hey, Wendy, the first time she'd pay attention, but if I started doing that every 5 minutes, she would start to ignore me. That's what your cells do when insulin is constantly knocking at the door. Now, if those cells and if those muscles get some exercise and if you go move your body, then they're hungry and they're like, come on in, I needed some of that. So that's the role that body movement plays. Stress plays a role because when we're stressed, our body secretes stress hormones. Those are inflammatory. We'll talk about that more next week when we tackle inflammation. So when we're stressed, our blood sugars go high because your body's in a fight or flight mode, and that is not a mode that can be sustained, and that is a mode that is caustic and damaging to your body. So you can move your body, You can manage your stress levels. You can eat good food in the combinations that they come in nature in their whole food form, the healthy fats, the lean protein sources, the good fruits and vegetables. And you can supplement in some of those areas that we know we are lacking. Just a side note on chromium. The average person gets about 50 micrograms a day. And what the RDA says that's the bare minimum is 200 micrograms a day. So that's just one example where we're getting about 25% in our food if we're not supplementing separately. So chromium is a smart supplement. Alpha lipoic acid is a smart supplement, and it has some protective where it will start protecting the cells that otherwise would be damaged from those high sugar levels. Remember the nails on a chalkboard? That can even start to impact nerves, and that's when we get into things like neuropathy and nerve damage. Alpha lipoic acid has a protective effect on that. Healthy fats, I talked about that when we talked about food. I choose to supplement with omegas. Those are the fats that our bodies don't naturally create, and those omegas have a protective effect as well. So, and then of course, the supplements to keep your gut health in check is going to be influential as well, because we talked about how gut health makes a difference too. So those are some tips I have for you for blood sugar and how far reaching it is and how impactful it is on your aging, on your hormones, and even just your hunger and your energy and how happy you are throughout the day, because nobody likes to be hangry.
Yeah.
And that's a blood sugar issue. So
yeah,
those are my thoughts on blood sugar.
Yes.
Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, just to wrap it up, you guys. So let's just talk really quick. Symptoms of maybe insulin resistance or hormone issues or chromium deficiencies. These are going to be symptoms of it, so you can kind of know where you're feeling.
Yeah, because wasn't like 80% of pre-diabetics not diagnosed? They don't know that they're pre-diabetic, and then all of a sudden they're wound up with a diabetes diagnosis. So watch for these things. Okay, so number one, you have poor blood glucose management. You have weakened bones, because now you're probably affecting the magnesium stores, and magnesium talks to calcium, and all of that goes together. You have low energy. You have poor skin health, acne, dull, dry, flaky skin, low concentration or memory. That comes with aging too. So we can see that with people with Alzheimer's and memory issues as they get older. They probably have less resistance to insulin. And then also worsened eye health. We hear it all the time. You kind of hit that magic number in your 40s, and all of a sudden your eyes change and we don't see so well. So those are just some symptoms of that. And then again, with the nutrients, B complex vitamins are very important to keep all of this in check. Magnesium, we said that. Vitamin C, alpha lipoic acid, probiotics, again, gut health, because it's not what you eat, it's what you absorb. And then the omegas, D3. Yes.
So there we go.
That's a lot.
We wrapped it all up. And
so keep the roller coaster kitty ride friendly. That's a good thing. That's what we're going for. So drop your thoughts and any questions in the comments below. We will be tackling inflammation 101 next week, which is a whole nother world that's tied to this and that's tied to your health and all the things. So thanks everyone for watching live.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
All right. Bye.